When you're someone like me, you get used to things moving fast. Conversations, connections, ideas. They're all fleeting, weaving in and out of my life like gusts of wind. But with Oliver, everything had slowed down in the most beautiful way. At least, that's what I told myself in the beginning. I don't know when it started. Maybe it was the third or fourth weekend in a row we stayed in to cook dinner instead of exploring some new corner of the city. Or the way he always preferred his coffee brewed exactly the same way every morning. No room for experimentation. It wasn't a bad routine, but it was a routine nonetheless. And for someone like me, routine felt a lot like being boxed in. Don't get me wrong, our connection was still there. When we talked, it was like sparks flying, our ideas bouncing off each other in a way that made me feel alive. But between those moments, there were gaps I couldn't ignore. I started to feel restless in a way I hadn't in months. It wasn't his fault. Oliver was as steady and thoughtful as ever. If anything, that was the problem. He was so steady, and I was not. One night, as we sat on his couch watching a documentary about ancient civilizations, his pick, of course, I couldn't focus. My mind wandered to the parties I hadn't gone to, the people I hadn't met, the adventures I'd skipped in favor of this quiet, predictable life we were building. For the first time, the thought crossed my mind, is this enough for me?
Fiona.
His voice pulled me out of my thoughts. I turned to find him watching me, his brow furrowed with concern.
You've been quiet. Are you okay?
I forced a smile. Yeah, sorry, I was just thinking about something from work. He didn't press, and I was grateful for that, but deep down, guilt gnawed at me. Here was a man who genuinely cared about me, who listened and made me feel seen, and yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something was missing. Over the next few weeks, that restlessness only grew. I started suggesting new things to do, impromptu road trips, random classes we could take together, even just trying out that quirky new cafe down the street. Oliver went along with most of it, but I could tell it wasn't his natural rhythm. He liked planning, predictability, knowing what to expect. I lived for the opposite.
Why do we always have to change things up?
He asked one evening after I proposed a weekend getaway to the mountains. I paused, caught off guard by the question. Because isn't that what makes life exciting? He sighed, rubbing the back of his neck.
Sometimes it's nice to just stay still to enjoy what we already have.
I knew he meant well, but his words felt like a weight pressing down on me. Stay still? The idea terrified me. Life was too short, too full of possibilities to stay in one place for too long. I didn't know how to explain that to him without sounding ungrateful for everything we had. The thing about being a Gemini is that we're always looking for the next spark, the next thrill. It's not that we don't value what we have, it's just that the world feels too vast to stop exploring. But in a relationship, that trait becomes tricky. Because while I was busy chasing the next adventure, Oliver seemed perfectly content with the life we were building. And maybe that was the problem. We weren't moving in the same direction anymore. One night, I found myself walking through the city alone. The streets were alive with music and laughter, and I couldn't help but feel a pang of longing. I missed this. The unpredictability, the chaos, the sense that anything could happen. As much as I cared for Oliver, I wondered if I was trying to fit into a life that wasn't really mine. When I got home, I found him sitting at the kitchen table, reading. He looked up when I walked in, his face softening with a smile.
Hey, how was your walk?
It was nice, I said, though the words felt hollow. I sat across from him, watching as he turned back to his book. The scene was so ordinary, so peaceful, and yet it filled me with a sense of unease. I couldn't help but think about all the roads I wasn't taking, all the possibilities I was leaving behind. As much as I tried to push the doubts away, they lingered like a shadow. I loved Oliver. I truly did. But I couldn't ignore the growing voice in my head asking, is love enough? For now, I kept those thoughts to myself. But deep down, I knew they would demand an answer eventually.